Hi guys, I decided to make this video to give you a heads up on, I know you heard a lot of this before, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but actually there's some things in this you have never heard before. A heads up on what to do and what not to do here in Thailand. I mean, again, it's not statistical, this is from my own experience. You're going to be surprised at some of the things that you'll hear. But number one, I covered this before, let's get this out of the way. Don't get married unless you have to a Thai. And I'll repeat that. Don't get married unless you have to. Of course, if you want to, yes. But if you're contemplating marrying a Thai girl who you actually like a lot, let's say, and you do want to spend, you're thinking you could spend the rest of your life with, but if your main priority, and let's, call a spade, if your main priority is to extend your time here by virtue of the fact that you're married to a Thai, that would not be, I mean, I'm not saying that anyone would do that, and no, and you know what I mean, but it could be a convenience, an extra convenience, but if that's part of your way of thinking, that's convenient, I wouldn't get married to a Thai unless you have to. You see, if you're financially solvent, when you come here, you can take a retirement visa, so you don't have to get into that. You don't have to get into the trappings of being married to a Thai, because your visa will be dependent on that union, let's say. But that's out of the way. Another thing that I just wanted to point out to you, and it's something that I'll just say it as it is. If you meet a Thai girl in a bar and she wants to go back to a hotel room, and I'd say instead of saying your hotel room, never bring her back to your hotel room. I repeat that. Never bring a girl you meet in a bar in Thailand, a bar girl, back to your hotel room. For reasons that should be obvious. I mean, you've got all your stuff there and you don't know who the hell you're bringing into your room, you see. But here's what you could do, or should do. You bring her to a neutral hotel, okay? And when you're checking in, get her to present her ID. Don't you present your ID when checking in. You can pay for the room. You'll have to. And the room will go in her name. Now that works for and against you. If she decides to rip you off while you're in slumber, or she facilitates your slumber by doing something to you that enacts that. If she takes something like your passport or your wallet or whatever it may be, they have her ID. So she's less likely to do anything like that. The downside of it is that when you go to check out, she'll hang on, and you can go and she'll get the deposit back, that, or whatever, but that's incidental. So that's something that I would stress absolutely. If you're checking into a room, don't ever use your ID, because that will enforce it in her to know that she's not going to get away with ripping you off. And that's something that a lot of I've heard stories of guys that has happened to, but I've never actually met someone that has happened to. Maybe if you know of someone that has happened to, you let me know. I don't know if it's that wouldn't be an urban myth. It'd be there was a story years ago about a guy, I think it was in Pattaya, who picked up a girl in a bar, and he brought her back to his hotel room. She knocked him out, she drugged him, whatever it was, and he lost his phone and his wallet and his passport and this, that and the other. And apparently he went back out in the street. Now I don't know if this is an urban myth or not, but it will back up what I'm saying to you. Basically, he went out the street when he came back to himself. I think it was 30 minutes or 45 minutes, something within the hour. And he flagged down the tourist police. And apparently he got back sat in the back of the car, and they drove around Pattaya. Like, Pattaya's entertainment district isn't that huge, They drove around, and lo and behold, apparently didn't he see her in the bar? So I don't know how many police officers, one of them at least got out of the car and told him to stay where he was, and they would deal with the situation. So apparently one of the police officers went over, had a chat with her, and then came back to him with, I think, with his wallet, his passport, and his whatever he had else he had lost. And he said to him, "Do you want to press charges?" Now, I don't know if this is real or it's an urban myth, but I'm just telling you as I heard it. "Do you want to press charges?" And he said, "Well, yeah, I do." He said, "Want to be careful?" And he said, "That's not, number one, it wasn't a girl, obviously." Well, he didn't know this, of course, because he was knocked out. Number one, it's not a girl. Number two, he or she was underage. I won't name the age. I figure out, because I'm not going to start naming ages, but apparently she was under the age of consent. So he was happy enough to leave it as it was, because he hadn't done anything. He was the victim in this case. But there you go. There's the example of. There's another reason why you should always insist on the ID there, to show their ID in the hotel, because then it will confirm their age. Not that you'd be putting yourself in that situation at all, but that's just in case that happened. The final kind of thing on this, that is, I've said it before and I'll say it again because it's well worth mentioning: never, ever, ever get into an altercation with a Thai. When I say never get into an altercation, when you get into an altercation, because it won't be an altercation unless it starts, you see. But when you get into an altercation with a Thai, back down and walk away. It's I got this from a Thai recently. I had a drink with a Thai friend of mine, and they were talking about this. Thais are very polite and all of this and all of that, and it kind of, if you're that polite all the time, you keep your anger suppressed, and then when something happens, you explode, because that's what they do. This person said to me, Thais can be very aggressive, and it's a fact. I'm married to a Thai, and she's a very polite, wonderful person, but by jingo, when she explodes, and I mean it. I've seen it on numerous occasions. It's actually very unique. When I say unique, it's completely different to what I have experienced, or what I experienced in my life when I lived in Ireland. Irish people are generally express themselves as they see fit, as most of us do in the West. You just express yourself. If you're pissed off, and you let people know. But the Thais suppress it. And then when something happens, they explode. So there you go, guys. These are a couple of things you should be aware of if you're coming here, or if you are here and you didn't know that. So there you are. Again, I'm not necessarily talking about personal experience, but I'm talking about experience that I have had in relation to living here. A little bit rubs off on you, as they say. Well, I hope this video has rubbed off on you. Make sure if you haven't clicked that like button, the share button, subscribe button, do all those wonderful things, and I'll bring you back another wonderful video very soon. Thanks for joining me. Hello there.